Today is stretch and strength yoga, so a little blend. A little bit of building some strength, a little bit of lengthening and getting longer. Today's theme, grab yoga blocks, grab a strap or a band if you have it, or something you can use as a strap or a band. If you don't have something similar, find things that you can use that you can step on for the block and do something that you can hold. We'll show you how to do it if you don't have a band or strap. So today's theme is Ahimsa. So come on down to your back, start to land in the room, start to feel your back on the ground, start to ground, start to find the breath in the body, start to center, start to create sacred space on your mat. We're going to talk about Ahimsa, which is non-violence, or do no harm. So in the teachings of yoga, so yoga is not just physical, they have they try to address all of the layers of the body, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, everything. So in the spiritual teachings of yoga, the first concept is non-violence. So they talk about this first and foremost because it's almost as if we don't practice nonviolence, all the other things are not quite working right. You can make all these efforts, but if you're not practicing nonviolence as the core of your practice, then all the other parts will suffer also. So start to take some wiggles of the hips, of the legs. Start to feel your feet on the ground. Bring your feet to the ground, your knees up. Start to really land on the mat. And think about Ahimsa, non-violence. We talk about it often. It's actually my favorite teaching because it's the core of the teachings to me. So when we think of non-violence, it's somewhat easy to grasp the concept of nonviolence to others. That seems simple. Don't commit murder. It's in a lot of our teachings. Don't do certain violent things. However, it can be more subtle. And for me, it's important to learn the act of nonviolence towards oneself. So how can we treat others in a way that we do not treat ourselves? So throughout this practice, I want you to take the opportunity to think, to feel, and to be nonviolent with yourself. Yoga is an exploration. It's supposed to be an internal experience. So as you're moving through some stretches, are you pushing too far? Are you being violent with yourself? Do you have a goal that you're not listening to your body about? It's an opportunity to learn. As you are moving through a stretch and you have that goal in mind and you're not getting there, what is that inner voice saying to itself? Is there violence in your inner critic? Is there violence that your words and the way that you talk to yourself are coming up? This is an opportunity to explore all of that and start to really connect with how you treat yourself. Because when we begin to treat ourselves with nonviolence, it's much easier to lead with nonviolence throughout our lives. So on your back, starting to really land on the mat, and maybe take a look at all the things that you've possibly said to yourself throughout the day. Maybe you're feeling a little powerless in the current environment. And in your frustration, there's that little voice inside acting out. Maybe you've looked in the mirror and judged yourself as too much or too little of something. Maybe you're meeting with circumstances in your life that you feel powerless over, and then you beat yourself up about it. So just starting to really look in, think about all of the words that you've been saying to yourself just for today. Starting to notice and starting to ask yourself, are you being violent with yourself? Are your words being critical and violent and unkind. And then bring your knees in and give yourself a little hug, almost like a little protective hug. And start to imagine what it would be like to talk to yourself as you would a dear loved one. Bring your feet up to the ceiling. Start to move through the feet. Take whatever movements through the feet and legs feel right for you right now, connecting with the muscles of the feet, spreading the toes, taking some slow ankle circles. Pedaling the legs. Starting to notice what tension is in the body. Connecting with your physical self. And then bring both feet onto the ground fairly far away from the glutes. So a good gap between the glutes and the heels. Not so much that you're pulling on your lower back. Land your heels down and start to engage the feet. So imagine you're going to pull the heels towards the glutes without letting them move. See if that fires up the back of the legs. Let the shoulders land on the ground, and we're going to move and breathe here. So I like to have the back of my arms onto the ground for support, fingertips to the sky. And we're going to fire up the core. Keep that firing in the back of the legs. Inhale as we lift the hips. Exhale as we lower. Small controlled movement. Starting to connect with the muscles. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. We're not looking for a big arch. We're just looking to connect with all of the muscles in the back of our legs, our glutes, and our core muscles. And connect with the breath. Move with the breath. Bring the hips up to a hover, still feeling like you're pulling the heels towards the glutes. And then feel like you're pushing the heels away. So change the way that you're using your feet and your leg muscles. A little adjust. Push the heels away. And then lower the hips. Take a side to side with the knees, a little reset. Plant the feet down wherever the knees, hips, lower back are comfortable. We're going to lift the toes up off the ground, pull them towards the shins, activate the feet, pull the toes tight towards the shins, and then turn the feet in towards center. Feel the muscles that make this movement happen. And then little pulses, little soft, slow pulses, pulling the feet into center, then back to neutral, into center, back to neutral. Connecting with the muscles. You're trying to feel a connection to the muscles that make this movement happen. Then bring the feet back to neutral center, and then take the feet out to the outside. Hold. So you're turning your toes out now. Mindful of anything going on in the lower back. Check in for your compensation patterns. Try to soften the back. All of this should be below the knees. All the muscle action below the knees. And then little pulses of the feet out. And then back to neutral. Out, and then back to neutral. Moving with your breath. Nice and slow and with control. And then land the feet back down on the ground. And take a little pulse with the feet, just to wiggle and loosen the feet. Pulse the feet, wiggle the feet, and wiggle them side to side, wiggle the hips. Start to loosen, soften, reset. And then bring the knees in, little hug, roll on over to a side, and come on up to the tabletop position. So we're going to move and breathe in our tabletop. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, send the hips backwards. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, back. Starting to have a connection with what is going on in your body, on your mat, familiar patterns. So these familiar patterns help generate familiar patterns in our brain, but also an opportunity for us to see where our holding patterns are and how they are different day to day. So the movement is simple. We're moving with our breath. We're feeling our hands on the ground. We're feeling what we're holding in our low back and our hips. Moving with the breath. And then bring it back to tabletop. And we're going to take a giant swing with the left arm, big circle. And then right arm, big circle. Nice and slow, left arm. And right arm. Land it back to a tabletop and take your hands a little wider than your shoulders. Lift up out of the shoulders. So not sinking in, but lifting up and engaged into the chest. I'm going to bring the weight onto the left hand and pull the right hand up towards the shoulders. It looks like this. Pull it up towards the shoulder. We're going to inhale as we pull this hand all the way back. Open up, a little twist through the upper back. And then exhale as we push down towards the ground. Inhale, draw up. Exhale, push. You should feel strength through the left shoulder, a little bit of movement through the left shoulder. If your hands and wrists are sensitive, make a fist. And then switch sides. Bring the weight onto the right side. Lift up. Pull the left hand towards the shoulder. Inhale as we pull back. Exhale as we push away. Bring the left hand back down. Bring some more weight onto the arms. So come forward, bring some weight into the arms. And if you need to make room for your wrists, bend your elbows. Strong in the shoulders, roll the shoulders in little slow circles. So we're not just flopping, we're trying to find all the muscles that make this movement happen. And then bring the shoulder blades, squeeze them together. And then draw them apart. Squeeze the shoulder blades together and then draw them apart. All the muscular action in the shoulders. And then sink the hips back, child's pose. What can you let go of? Bring your hands back to neutral, back shoulder width, tuck the toes, lift the hips, down dog. And take any movements to warm up your down dog that feel right for you. Having your own internal experience, pedal out the knees, sway the hips. Adjusting the hands to different positions. Really finding where your body wants to move today. And then find the stillness of down dog, really lifting the hips up out of the ground. Engaged all the way to the tailbone, so lifting through the shoulders, engaged through core. Breathe and connect with your head below your heart. Bend both knees, engage the core, lift the right heel towards the glute, And we're going to take the knee in a circle, lift it up and around towards the right elbow, and then back. Up towards the ceiling, around towards the right elbow, and then back. Up, around, slow, controlled movement, not just swinging through the hip, trying to find muscles that make this movement happen. And then bring the right knee towards the right elbow. Hold here, lift up out of the ground, breathe and challenge yourself. And then step it through low lunge. Maybe grab your blocks and move through your low lunge. Again, having your own internal experience. Inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, send the leg towards straight. Move the hips, move the feet, have an experience. Slow, controlled, connected movement. Feeling the muscles, feeling your legs. And then come to low lunge, lift up off this right leg. So your core is engaged, you're not sinking into the right hip, you're engaged through the right leg. So you're really pulling up out of the ground. You can use your blocks for support. Bend the back knee a little more. Funky shape. So now engaged here. We're gonna take the weight over to the right of the right foot, nice and slow. Take the weight over, press and lift up out of this leg as you feel it engaged all the way to the back of the right hip. Press into the ground and pull up with all of the muscles you can find. And then slowly take the weight all the way over to the left of the foot. Let the knee go where it goes. And then pull up out of the ground. Bring it back to a low lunge shape with the back leg bent. Stay here, lift the toes of the front leg. Breathe. Place the foot down. Lower the back knee and untuck the toes. Take the time to sit up this back leg. You really want to lift up so you're not on the kneecap. You can place something on the back of the knee, underneath the knee. And then you're going to lift up and bring your blocks with you. So check in on your hips. Check your hips are comfortable. Try to get them facing forward. You can even lift up off this back knee a little. Lengthen the spine. Breathe. Try to now pull up out of the ground, pull through all of the leg muscles. And then we're going to sink the hips backwards towards the left foot. So we are looking, whenever you're doing a stretch, you want to think about where it is you want to feel, what you want to feel lengthened in for yourself. So now we're looking for the back of the leg. Not into the back. There are other back stretches and lengtheners. So now we just want to feel the leg, the back of the right leg. So lift the toes on the back of the right leg. If this right here with a tall spine does not activate enough for you, try some movements that make it activate. So push into the heel as if you're pushing it away. Try that. And then pull the heel back without letting it move. So pull back. See which one works better for you. And then once you find the one that works better for you and you're engaged in feeling stretch along the back of the leg, maybe play with moving the foot around nice and slow or keep it static if that's what you prefer. Having your own practice and looking for what's going on in the lower back. So there's that no harm, doing no violence. So just because you saw a picture where someone said the perfect pose this shape is to have your head down towards your knee. When you do that, what's going on in your low back and what is happening? Is it better for you to come up taller and just activate the muscles? So pull that heel towards you, see if that opens up the back of the leg. Push it away, see if it opens up the back of the leg. And then slowly come forward back to a low lunge shape. Bring your blocks forward, tuck the toes, lift up the back knee. We're going to frame out the front foot, send the right foot back to meet the left, high plank. Breathe and hold. And then back to down dog. Find your breath. Bend the knees and then lift the left heel towards the glute. Hold. And then a big slow circle, taking the knee up to the ceiling and then round towards the left elbow. Nice and slow. Up to the ceiling, round towards the left elbow. Slow, controlled, connecting with the muscles that make this movement happen. And then bring the left knee forward towards the left elbow. Lift up out of the ground, breathe and hold. And then step through low lunge shape. Moving with your breath, inhaling forward. Exhaling, sending the left leg towards straight. Set up in a low lunge and get really strong in your legs. Bend the back knee. And then we're going to take the weight over to the left side of the foot, nice and slow. Pull up out of the ground. Really engage all the way to the hip. Breathe. Slowly bring the weight over to the right side of the foot. Engaged muscles lifting up out of the ground. And back to low lunge. Slowly lower the back knee, untuck the toes. Set up slow and controlled. Maybe even lifting up off the knee for a little hover, getting longer in the spine. And then lower the back knee, send the hips backwards towards the right foot. And then do your same assessment of your base. So find a comfortable place for your hips. A little bit of the stabilizer muscles squeezing in towards the midline and then back towards the spine. And have that internal experience of looking for the place where it feels just right in your own left leg, where you're not doing harm to your lower back because somebody else's picture of perfect. You can keep it static or you can move the foot, move the leg. And then play with both ways, pushing into the heel without letting it move and pulling back, because not always are we the same on each side. So just because you did it one way on the other side does not mean that that's the way that feels right on this side today. And then slowly bring it forward to a low lunge shape, tucking the toes, lifting up the back knee. This time, frame out the front foot, bend the back knee deeply, and step forward. Big bend in the knees. Let the tension hang out of the neck. Breathe, loosen. Pressing into the heels, firing up the legs. Inhale as you rise all the way up, hands overhead. Exhale, prayer to heart. Connect with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Inhale up. Exhale, prayer to heart. Hold your prayer at your heart center. Take a little sink down of the hips, so not to a really low squat, but a teeny sink down. Just enough so that you can feel all of the leg muscles fire up. So imagine you're pulling the mat apart with your feet and also squeezing the knees towards each other without letting anything move. Just engaging the muscles that make these actions happen. Find the stabilizer muscles. So if you're feeling this all in your low back, pull the stabilizer muscles tighter. Get that center line coming in towards midline and pulling back towards the spine. Breathe and hold. This should feel like work, just sitting here in a little half chair. Watch for cramping and gripping with the toes. Watch for gripping in the low back. Soften the shoulders. Soften the face. Hold. From here, we're going to bring the arms out, even with the shoulders, as if we're holding a block. We're going to inhale as we open towards the right. Exhale as we squeeze back in. Inhale as we open towards the left. Exhale as we squeeze back in. Trying to keep our base neutral and the movement happening from above the rib cage. Inhale, open. Exhale, squeeze. Move with your breath. Think back to that Ahimsa. Are your muscles in your legs firing up? Are they firing up too much? Are you forcing yourself into too much work? Do you need to lift the hips a little? Do you need to come up and take a break, shake it off, start again? Non-violence. There's a difference between setting a challenge for yourself and committing violence to yourself. Bring your hands to prayer. Bring your hips up and take a little wiggle. Shake it out. Loosen, soften. Find your breath. Sink the hips back down a little bit. Baby chair. Engage. Set your base. Legs are strong, strong, strong. So as if they're pulling the knees apart and pulling them together. Everything is active. Really strong in the legs. Imagine there's a block between your legs and you're squeezing it, and there's a band and you're also pushing against it. Lots of action in the legs. No gripping in the toes. Let the toes be soft. Soften the low back. Soften the shoulders. Engage from the tailbone up, all the way up. Strong stabilizer muscles. Drawing in towards midline and drawing a long, tall spine. Breathe. Bring the hands out even with the shoulders, and we're going to turn and twist to the right side. So open up towards the right. Maybe pop that hand back on the low back. Pulling from the center, turning and twisting. Bring the weight onto the right leg. Slowly come up onto the ball of the left foot. Maybe even balance here with a little twist. And then slowly send the left leg backwards, twisted lunge.
Breathe. Bring the weight onto the right leg again. Come up off the ball of that back leg. Draw the left leg back in. Twisted chair. Slowly switch. Come back to center. Turn and twist to the left, maybe tucking that hand in. Base is still strong. Breathe. Weight onto the left leg. Slowly come up onto the ball of the right. Send the right leg back. Nice and slow with control, twisted lunge. Breathe and hold. Weight onto the left leg. Start to come up off the toes of the right. And bring it forward. Twisted chair. Back to neutral. And then inhale, rise up. Exhale, heart to heart. Take a little shimmy. Wiggle the feet. Feel the weight in the legs. Take a little assessment inside of how you're feeling, what feels different. We're going to pedal out the feet. So setting up little baby chair. Start to slowly pedal through, lifting one heel at a time. Not so engaged in the legs this time, about halfway. Find that halfway point. So we're still engaged in the legs, but we're really starting to think about the muscles of the feet. Maybe bring both heels up. Set up, squeeze, hands to prayer, hold. Breathe. You can stay here. You can move on to mountain pose and take a break and center. Or you can lift the hips up a little and sink the hips down, moving with your breath. Inhale as you squeeze the muscles and pull up. Exhale as you squeeze the muscles and pull down. And bring your hands out to help you balance. And then slowly lower the heels. Reset. Take a little wiggle. You're going to grab one of your blocks. And you're going to place it down. You're going to place it down on the ground. And you're going to put the ball of your left foot on. So keep an eye on your hips. Keep an eye on your low back. Watch for those compensation patterns. And you're going to lift the heel. And then slowly press the heel down, slow. Start to get the hang of this movement and then start to take some weight into the movement. So we're looking to feel all the way through the back of the left leg. So again, there's lots of pictures of lots of people all over the world saying that this is the only way to do a certain pose, a certain body shape. There are rules, there are alignments. Try to let go of that and listen to your own body. So maybe you saw nose to knee is the only way to get a good stretch in the back of this leg, but see if you can start to feel a stretch in the back of this leg without placing any stretch in the low back. And then switch sides, bringing your block over for the right foot. Moving slow and controlled at first, so just feel the movement. And then start to move and take some weight into the leg, lower the heel. Breathing, experiencing slow and controlled and paying attention. So when you start to wobble, notice where your mind has gone. Maybe you left your mat. Maybe you left your physical body. And just gently remind yourself to come back. And then let that go. Tap it out a little, feel your legs. And then move on to using the band. So, lots of options. If you do not have the band, you can just hold the knee. You can hold the thigh. If you have the band, we're going to make use of the band. So have the band. First, we're going to start with lifting the leg. So, set up your base first. Hips are even. You're pulling towards the midline and pulling that spine back towards the spine. Strong stabilizer muscles. Start to lift up the right heel. Start to think about balancing on the left leg, and notice if you did this. Pull this hip back in. See if you can bring the right leg forward and up off the ground without moving the hips. So try and keep those hips nice and stable. See how high you can hold this leg. So where are you strong? Are you strong up here? Strong up here? Can you only lift it a little bit? Notice where you're at. So notice where you are with your strength. Where can you pull your leg up to? Without a compensation pattern in the back. Still keeping that nice, strong, long spine. Where can you lift your foot to? And hold it. So maybe your muscles are starting to burn. And bring the knee in. Maybe you can grab the knee. Get longer, longer, longer. And then wrap the strap around the ball of the right foot. Grab the strap and send the foot forward. So, watch for the swinging of the hips. Draw the hips in. Squeeze towards the midline. Find stabilizer muscles to balance. Maybe you can lift the foot a little higher. Press through the heel. Get a little longer. And then open up towards the right. Left hand can counterbalance. So press through the ball of the right foot. Left leg is super strong. Breathe. Maybe drop the left hand behind the hip and turn and look left. Turning from the ribcage up. Whew. Breathe and hold. Bring it back through midline. As long as you're doing no harm, maybe you're just holding this leg. Take this foot across the body. Woo. Cross a little. Stretching through the leg. Woo. Turn and look the other way. Twisting from the core. Breathe. Bend the knee. Slowly release the foot. And how about this left foot? Run it for a while. Tap it out and then tuck it under. Place the ball, the front of the foot down, and feel like you're pulling it towards you without letting it move. Really find the front of the foot, maybe even find the front of the hip. And then place the ball of the foot down, press through the ball of the foot, and take little slow circles in the foot. Release any tension in the foot. And then really tap it out again. Loosen, soften, let it go. Set up for the other side. So find your base. Nice and strong. Long in the spine, pulling in and up. Get strong and balanced. Left heel lifts. Left foot comes forward and find where you can hold it without compensating in the back and the hips. So now pushing the hips out to get it higher. Trying to hold the hips steady. Lift the leg with the muscles of the leg. Notice which side comes higher than the other. This one for me is shaking a lot more. Breathe and hold. And the knee. Draw it in. You have the strap, wrap it around the ball of the left foot. And lengthen, keeping the hips even, stable. Press through the ball of the left foot to get that leg really, really long and engaged. Breathe. Counterbalancing with the right hand, bring the left leg out towards the side, nice and slow. Slow and controlled, still keeping that spine long. Maybe tucking the right hand behind the hip and turn with a little twist. The torso back to center, leg back to midline. Slowly bring it across, switch hands, left hand out, and slowly turn. Bringing your hand to your hip. Lengthen through the spine, engage the core, breathe. Slowly bring it back midline, release, and tap out the right foot. Take time to notice which side, differences left to right. Feel your feet, breathe. Tuck the right toes under, land the top of the foot on the ground, and then feel like you're pulling it without letting it move. Maybe even bending the knee and starting to feel it right in front of that hip. Breathe. And then let it go. Tap it out. Really loosen and soften the legs. So, I asked you at the beginning of the practice, connect with your breath, inhale up, exhale prayer to heart a couple of times. I asked you at the beginning of practice to think of some of those violent words we might have used towards ourselves. So another act of nonviolence is self-forgiveness. So think of those words, bring a prayer to your heart. Think of those words. Think of some actions maybe that we've participated in today that might have been a little violent. Maybe even close your eyes and really think, did I overeat? Did I undereat? Did I do something that was a little violent to myself just because of a stress reaction? Notice. Perhaps bring something to mind and make it visual. Make it like a little ball of something. Maybe you make the visual action. Maybe you can just see that and bring it to mind. And we're going to imagine just tossing it out. So we're going to start to imagine bringing it into our space. And then like an old-fashioned washing machine, we're going to swing our hands left to right and cleanse it out. Imagine cleaning our space. Doing a little housekeeping, letting go. Maybe even sighing out of the mouth, letting it go. And then come back to neutral, maybe keeping your eyes closed, prayer to heart. Imagine your hips, your shoulders, your face, feeling a little lighter. Imagine you're carrying a little less burden. Take your prayer overhead. Interlace your fingers. You can leave index fingers straight. Start to engage your base again. So your legs are engaged. Feel like you're pulling your feet apart and squishing them back in together. Find more muscles in your legs. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Draw your prayer far overhead and then tilt your prayer a little bit to the right, lengthening the left side. Breathe. Send your breath in between each rib on the left side, imagining creating more space for your breath. Slowly bring it back through center. Lengthen again and then tilt a teeny bit over to the left. Lengthening right side body, sending your breath in between each rib. Breathe. Cleanse. Slowly bring it back to neutral. Pull back to your heart and take a wiggle to reset. We're going to go to our back. So, watching and doing no harm. Having your own physical experience. Bring your hands to your hips, fingertips down. So, draw your shoulders backwards so you're active and strong. And first thing, we're going to bend our knees and push our hips forward. So push the hips forward. Activate those muscles we were using to lift the legs nice and strong. Push, push, push. And then draw your shoulders backwards. Watch for ducking your head back and hanging out on your spine. Just bring your chin in. Lift backwards with your shoulders. Strong, engaged. Imagine undoing gravity. Find some strength. Breathe. Find that place where you're defying gravity, but you're not pushing into any nerves, into any vertebrae. You're just using your muscles to feel strong. Slowly bring your spine back to neutral and take some glitter. Flick it away. Loosen your arms. And then connect with your breath. Inhale up. Exhale, purr to heart. Inhale up. Exhale, purr to heart. And then this time, swan dive it down, bringing your prayer all the way through center, nice and slow. Touch the ground. Nice bend in the knees. And let the tension out of the head. Breathe. Turn your world upside down. You can hang out on a block, lifting up a little bit out of the ground. Step your right foot a little bit wider, your left foot a little bit wider. And we're going to slowly move through our hips towards Malasana. So take any shape with your feet that feels right in your body. Don't listen to someone else's alignment. Change it up. Feel, experience your own feet, your own knees, your own stabilizer muscles. Have your own experience and do no harm. Slowly bring the hips down. Maybe pausing in a Malasana, a squat pose. So lifting up, engaging, feeling strong. Or maybe you're just ready to sink the hips all the way down and come to a seat. Take a little play, come to a seat. Bring your hands to prayer heart space. And really check in. See what's different. Notice what is present. Feel the breath moving inside the torso. And then slowly make your way down to your back. All the hard work is done. Starting to soften, loosen. So bring your hips onto the ground, sway the knees, sway the hips. Have an experience of what is going on. Take a moment to ask yourself whether you really practiced no harm today. Did you practice nonviolence as we stretched and challenged? And again, I keep repeating this, there are no wrong answers. If you did practice a little violence, you pushed yourself a little hard, it's just a learning experience. It took me a long time. I've been doing this since I was 9, so it took me a long time
to stop listening to somebody else's ideals of what my physical body should look like on the mat and start to actually have an internal experience. A long, long time, like decades. So, if you practiced a little violence today, it's not a punishment. It's just a learning experience. You hurt something, you pulled something, bring your right knee over your left. Bring your knees in towards your chest and your feet towards opposite shoulders. Start to breathe in and soften into the hip, piriformis, the glutes. So don't even beat yourself up about the mistakes we make, even on our practice, even on a mat. It's an exploration. It's designed for us to make mistakes. It's designed for us to wobble, lose our balance, because each little wobble, each little success, each little stumble, each little goal and building block, they're learning opportunities. Slowly unravel and switch sides, left knee over right and feet towards opposite shoulders. Breathing in and softening in to all the fight or flight muscles, starting to let go. Maybe even sighing your breath out of your mouth a little. Imagine drawing in fresh and with a little bit of force, just pushing out things no longer needed. Letting go, surrender. Slowly unravel and take a little assessment of where you need to be for your resting pose today. You can be in full Shavasana corpse pose. You can take it curled up in a ball. So do your assessment every day. Even if corpse pose is a perfect resting pose for you, sometimes when we feel a little vulnerable, curling up in a ball can be much more restorative. So just take an assessment every time we come to this pose. Look in, see how your body needs to rest today. Take your own resting pose in whichever position feels right for you. The purpose of this pose is to be at such a point of rest that the muscles soften completely and we're closest to being a corpse as possible. No tension held in any of the muscles. So find that position for you today. Take all the tension out of the feet. Take all the tension out of the face, the fists, the shoulders, the hips. Take the tension and pressure out of forcing the breath and monitoring the breath, and surrender into the ground, surrender into the support of the ground. And there are a lot of teachings on nonviolence. I picked out the Yama and Niyama book today because she has a really lovely way of putting the teachings and kind of modernize today's terms. So either tune me out and go into your resting pose, come to the center, find your center and rest here, or if you'd like to hear, I'm going to read a little bit as we go into our rest. How we treat ourselves is in truth how we treat those around us. We can have hearts that are full of love for others and intentions to love that are pure. But the truth is, we will express that love for others by treating them the same way we treat ourselves. Love lies at the core of nonviolence and begins with love of self. Not a love that is egocentric, but a love that is forgiving and lenient. A love that sees the humor in imperfections and accepts the fullness of human expression. Only when we find this love for all parts of ourselves can we begin to express fully the love that wells up inside of us for others. Finding this love for all parts of ourselves means we have to forgive ourselves. Without forgiveness, we carry guilt like a heavy burden around our hearts. Guilt holds our love for self and others hostage and keeps us bound to a one-sided expectation of the human experience. So perhaps thinking of some of those possibly violent experiences we've had today, and thinking of letting go. There are many ways that we can connect to this concept. We can connect to tossing them out, letting them go, letting the judgments go, letting the burden of the experience and the words go. Or we can just imagine warm, green, compassionate energy wrapping around us, like giving ourselves the compassionate, kind, forgiving hug that we deserve. If you particularly struggle with the concept of forgiveness and accepting yourself as whole, you can practice a little intention. An intention, a truth vow, something that we say to ourselves that our innermost truth knows is true, knows it's true, but some of the outer layers fight the truth. And we whisper this vow to ourselves often so that we can absorb it and start to participate in it in the other layers of our life. So, good truth vow, or one that works for self-love and acceptance, can be something such as I am worthy, or I am loved. And maybe the first few times you start uttering it to yourself, it doesn't hit home, it doesn't stick, there's too much in the way. But we repeat it, and we just keep saying it with kindness, compassion, and love, as if we were saying it to someone we truly cared about, someone dear. Opening to the concept that in time we will feel it through all the layers, and it will be truth. If you have found that beautiful place where you're perfectly at rest and your body is regenerating, your mind is resting, take this time, listen to your body, and take some time to mend and heal and practice self-love and acceptance. If you need to finish up at 60 minutes, we are coming right up on that 60-minute mark. So you're not there already, curl up in a fetal position in a little ball. And for a few more moments, connect with the concept of being wrapped in a bubble of compassion and kindness and acceptance. Imagine not only that this kindness and acceptance, this bubble of love and acceptance, comes from your heart center, surrounds you, but it also comes from outside of you, this give and take, this moving of energy. Thinking about the center, our light inside, our spiritual light, is connected to the spiritual light of others, of whatever faith we have. It's the light that connects to a beautiful scene in nature. So it's not just us. We are not just alone. We are connected. And if you struggle with the concept of connection, maybe just thinking about a puppy or something that you feel particularly connected to, and just reminding yourself of that connection, an uncomplicated connection. Maybe you love to lay and look at the stars twinkling at night, and maybe you feel a connection, a soul connection to the stars twinkling. Or you have a beach that you often feel connected to. Find that visual connection, cognitive connection at first, and then see how it feels in the body. And connect within to that physical connection. And then slowly bring yourself to a seated position, hands at prayer, at heart space. Finishing our practice by bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart, accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. And the light in me sees and honors the light in each of you. May we all feel a little more connection. Thank you for joining me.